Philip II of Spain was born in 1527 and became King of Spain in 1556, inheriting vast territories from his father Charles V. At its peak, the Spanish Empire under him covered about 13 million square kilometers, spanning Europe, the Americas, parts of Africa, and Asia. He ruled over about 30 million people, controlling diverse regions across multiple continents. Spain controlled massive silver mines in the Americas, especially in places like Potosi, producing about 80% of the world's silver supply during that era. Each year, huge treasure fleets transported tons of silver and gold from the New World to Spain, making it the richest state in Europe. He controlled major global trade routes, including Atlantic and Pacific connections, linking Europe, the Americas, and Asia. In 1588, he launched the Spanish Armada against England, deploying about 130 ships, although it ended in failure. Despite immense wealth, constant wars across Europe drained resources and created financial strain. Spain declared bankruptcy multiple times under his rule despite massive silver inflows showing the scale of spending. He died in 1598. Emperor Taizong of Tang was born in 598 as Li Shimanen and seized power in 626 after the Xuanwu Gate incident, where he killed his brothers to secure the throne. At its height under him, the Tang Empire covered about 5.4 million square kilometers, extending deep into Central Asia. He ruled over a population of about 50 million people, making China one of the most populous and productive regions in the world. He implemented the equal field system, allocating land based on household size, which maximized agricultural output and tax efficiency. He strengthened the Grand Canal system, improving movement of grain and goods across the empire. The capital, Chang'an, became one of the largest cities in the world, with a population of about 1 million people, serving as a major trade and cultural hub. He maintained a powerful military, defeating major rivals like the Eastern Turks and stabilizing borders. His reign is considered part of the Golden Age of China, marked by economic growth, cultural development, and political stability. He promoted merit-based governance through the imperial examination system, strengthening administrative efficiency. He ruled for 23 years, establishing systems that ensured long-term prosperity beyond his reign. He died in 649. Ashoka controlled one of the largest and most organized empires in the ancient world, covering India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Nepal. He was born around 304 BC and became emperor in 268 BC after a violent struggle for succession within the Maurya dynasty. At its peak under him, the Maurya Empire covered about 5 million square kilometers. He ruled over a population of about 50 million people, giving him control over a massive labor force and economic base. The empire generated high revenue through agriculture, trade, and a structured taxation system managed by a centralized administration. His most famous campaign, the Kalinga War, resulted in about 100,000 deaths, with even more displaced, marking one of the deadliest events of his reign. After witnessing the destruction of Kalinga, he converted to Buddhism and shifted from expansion to governance and moral rule. He built roads, rest houses, and irrigation systems, improving trade and economic activity across vast regions. He supported the construction of stupas and monasteries, spreading Buddhism across India and beyond. He died in 200 DC. Darius I controlled the Achaemenid Empire at its peak, one of most revenue-generating empires of the ancient world. He was born around 550 BC and became king in 522 BC after consolidating power during a period of internal instability. At its peak under him, the Achaemenid Empire covered about 5.5 million square kilometers, stretching from the Indus Valley to Egypt and parts of Europe. He ruled over a population of about 35 million people, making it one of the largest empires in terms of population at the time. He divided the empire into about 20 satrapies, provinces, each responsible for taxation and administration under centralized control. His tax system generated massive annual revenue, with tributes collected in gold, silver, and goods from across the empire. He introduced a standardized currency, the Daric gold coin, which became widely used in trade across the empire. He built the Royal Road, a network of about 2,500 kilometers, allowing messages and goods to move rapidly across the empire. He controlled key trade routes connecting Asia, Africa, and Europe, increasing economic integration and wealth flow. He built the grand city of Persepolis, which served as a ceremonial and administrative center filled with tribute and wealth. He died in 486 BC. William the Conqueror was born around 1028 as William of Normandy and was illegitimate, earning the nickname William the Bastard, which made his early rule unstable and constantly challenged. By age 8, he became Duke of Normandy, and his childhood was marked by repeated assassination attempts and internal rebellions, forcing him to learn power consolidation early. In 1066, he invaded England with about 7,000 troops and defeated King Harold Godwinson at the Battle of Hastings, one of the most decisive battles in English history. After victory, he seized control of England, redistributing land to his Norman followers and replacing nearly the entire Anglo-Saxon elite within a few years. By 1086, he ordered the creation of the Domesday Book, a massive survey covering about 13,000 settlements, recording land, wealth, livestock, and resources across England. This allowed him to know exactly who owned what, enabling precise taxation and making him the single largest landowner in the kingdom. He directly controlled about 20% of all land in England, while the rest was held by nobles loyal to him, effectively making all land flow back to his authority. England's population at the time was about 2 million people, all under a centralized feudal system where wealth, labor, and military service were tied to land ownership. He built castles across England, including the early structure of the Tower of London to maintain military dominance and suppress rebellion. He introduced the Norman feudal system, linking land ownership directly to military service, ensuring a constant supply of armed knights. His rule shifted England's language, culture, and governance, blending Norman French with Anglo-Saxon traditions and reshaping the elite class. He died in 1087 after being injured in battle, reportedly suffering fatal internal injuries when his horse stumbled. Mir Osman Ali Khan became the Nizam of Hyderabad of India in 1911, ruling a state covering about 214,000 square kilometers. He ruled over a population of about 16 million people, with Hyderabad generating massive revenue from agriculture, trade, and taxation. By the 1930s, he was widely regarded as the richest man in the world. He owned one of the largest private collections of jewels in the world, including diamonds, pearls, emeralds, and rubies of exceptional size and quality. One of his most famous possessions was a diamond worth about $100 million, which he reportedly used casually as a paperweight. Despite his immense wealth, he lived relatively simply, often wearing plain clothes and avoiding extravagant displays compared to his riches. Hyderabad had its own currency, railways, and postal system, making it economically semi-independent under his rule. He controlled taxation, land distribution, and economic activity across the state, giving him direct authority over wealth generation. During his reign, Hyderabad became a center of culture and education, with investments in infrastructure and institutions. In 1948, after India's independence, Hyderabad was annexed by India through Operation Polo, ending his rule as sovereign. He died in 1967. Kublai Khan was born in 1215, the grandson of Genghis Khan, inheriting a legacy of conquest and expansion. After a power struggle, he became Great Khan in 1260, and by 1279, he completed the conquest of the Song dynasty, unifying all of China under Mongol rule. At his peak, he ruled over about 100 million people, making his empire one of the most populous in the world. His Yuan Empire covered about 11 million square kilometers, including all of China and surrounding regions. China at the time was the largest economy in the world, producing massive agricultural output, goods, and trade revenue. He established the Yuan dynasty, becoming the first non-Chinese ruler to govern all of China. He built a new capital at Khan Balik, modern Beijing, turning it into a political and economic center of the empire. He expanded the use of paper money, making it the primary currency across the empire, which allowed large-scale economic control. He strengthened and expanded the Silk Road, increasing trade between Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. His court attracted foreign travelers and merchants, including Marco Polo, who described the immense wealth and organization of his empire. He attempted major military expansions, including invasions of Japan in 1274 and 1281, both of which failed due to storms known as kamikaze. He died in 1294. Suleiman the Magnificent ruled the Ottoman Empire at its absolute peak, one of the most powerful economies of the 16th century. He was born in 1494 and became Sultan in 1520, inheriting a rapidly expanding empire and transforming it into a global superpower. At its peak under him, the Ottoman Empire covered about 5.2 million square kilometers, spanning Southeast Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. He ruled over a population of about 25 million people, controlling diverse regions with major economic output. He captured key territories including Belgrade, Rhodes, and large parts of Hungary after the Battle of Mohács. He led the Siege of Vienna in 1529, bringing Ottoman power to the doorstep of Central Europe. The empire generated massive revenue through taxation, agriculture, trade duties, and control of strategic routes. He commanded a powerful military, including the elite Janissaries, and maintained one of the most effective armies of the time. His navy dominated the Mediterranean under commanders like Harridan Barbarossa, strengthening trade and military reach. He maintained centralized authority while managing a vast and diverse empire through efficient administration. He ruled for 46 years, one of the longest and most stable reigns in Ottoman history. He died in 1566 during a military campaign. Louis XIV became king in 1643 at just 5 years old. And after the death of his chief minister in 1661, he took full personal control, declaring that he would rule without a prime minister. France under his rule had a population of about 20 million people, making it the most populous and economically significant country in Europe. He controlled one of the largest economies in the world at the time, with France dominating agriculture, trade, and manufacturing within Europe. He centralized taxation and administration, ensuring that revenue from across the kingdom flowed directly into the royal system he controlled. He built the Palace of Versailles, a massive complex with over 700 rooms, designed not just as a residence but as a tool to control the nobility. He forced nobles to live at Versailles, keeping them under constant observation and reducing their independent power. The court at Versailles housed about 10,000 people, including nobles, servants, and officials, creating a system where wealth and status depended on proximity to the king. He maintained a standing army of about 400,000 soldiers, one of the largest in Europe at the time, allowing him to wage continuous wars. During his reign, France fought multiple major wars, including the War of the Spanish Succession, projecting power across Europe. He promoted arts, culture, and architecture, turning France into the cultural center of Europe. Despite immense wealth and power, his constant wars and spending placed heavy financial strain on the state toward the end of his reign. He ruled for 72 years, the longest reign of any major European monarch. He died in 1715. Nicholas II became Tsar of Russian Empire in 1894, inheriting an empire covering about 22 million square kilometers, making it the largest country in the world at the time. He ruled over a population of about 170 million people, controlling taxation, agriculture, and industrial output across the empire. He owned multiple palaces, including the Winter Palace, filled with art, gold, and priceless artifacts. The imperial treasury included famous items like the Fabergé eggs, symbolizing extreme luxury and craftsmanship. Despite this wealth, much of Russia's population lived in poverty, creating massive inequality within the empire. His rule faced increasing unrest due to economic struggles, political repression, and military failures. In 1917, the Russian Revolution forced him to abdicate, ending centuries of Romanov rule. In 1918, he and his family were executed by Bolsheviks, marking one of the most dramatic ends to a royal dynasty. After his fall, vast imperial wealth was seized or lost, and the monarchy was permanently abolished. Qin Shi Huang ranks among the richest rulers in history because he unified China and brought its land, population, and economic output under a single centralized authority for the first time. He was born in 259 BC and became king of the Qin state at just 13 years old, initially ruling under regents before taking full control. By 221 BC, after a series of military campaigns, he defeated all rival states and unified China, creating an empire covering about 2.2 million square kilometers. He ruled over a population of about 20 million people, bringing vast agricultural and economic resources under his direct control. He abolished the feudal system and replaced it with a centralized bureaucracy, ensuring that all officials answered directly to the emperor. He standardized currency, weights, measures, and even writing systems, allowing smoother trade and administration across the empire. He ordered the construction of massive infrastructure projects, including early sections of the Great Wall, using hundreds of thousands of laborers. He built an extensive road network spanning thousands of kilometers, improving military movement and economic integration. One of his most famous achievements is the Terracotta Army, consisting of about 8,000 soldiers, built to guard his tomb in the afterlife. His rule was marked by strict laws and harsh punishments under legalism. maintaining tight control over society. He ordered the burning of books and execution of scholars to eliminate opposition and unify ideology. He sought immortality, sending expeditions in search of elixirs and reportedly consuming mercury-based substances. He died in 210 BC, likely due to mercury poisoning from these attempts at immortality. His tomb remains largely unopened, believed to contain vast treasures and rivers of mercury, adding to the mystery of his wealth and power. Genghis Khan was born around 1162 as Temujin. After his father was poisoned, his family was abandoned and survived in extreme poverty, shaping his survival-driven leadership. As a teenager, he was captured and enslaved by the Tycoons and escaped, later building alliances that became the foundation of his rise to power. By 1206, after defeating rival leaders like Jamuka, he unified the Mongol tribes and was declared Genghis Khan, forming a single military command. At its peak under his rule and immediate successors, the Mongol Empire covered about 10% of land on Earth, consisting 15% of the world's population. His forces conquered major regions including northern China, Central Asia, and parts of Eastern Europe, dismantling powerful states. During the invasion of the Khwarezmian Empire, entire cities were destroyed after resistance, with large-scale killings reported in places like Nishapur. Each soldier maintained 35 horses, allowing the army to travel about 100 kilometers per day, far faster than enemy forces. He pioneered psychological warfare, often destroying resisting cities completely to spread fear and force others to surrender without fighting. Historians estimate his campaigns caused about 40 million deaths, with some regions experiencing long-term population decline. He did not hoard wealth personally. Instead, he distributed spoils among his army, strengthening loyalty and control. He died in 1227 during a campaign against Western Shia. His burial was kept secret, with accounts stating that those who witnessed the funeral procession were killed to conceal the location. Akbar the Great was born in 1542 and became emperor at just 13 years old in 1556 after the death of his father Humayun, with early rule guided by Bayram Khan. By 1560, he took full control and began expanding aggressively, transforming a fragile state into a dominant empire across northern and central India. At its peak under him, the Mughal Empire covered about 4 million square kilometers, making it one of the largest empires of its time. He ruled over a population of about 100 million people, one of the largest populations under a single ruler in the world at that time. The Mughal economy under Akbar produced about 25% of global GDP, making it one of the richest economic systems in history. He created a tax system based on detailed land measurement and productivity, maximizing revenue collection. He maintained a standing army of about 200,000 soldiers, including cavalry, infantry, and war elephants. He conquered major regions including Gujarat, Bengal, and parts of central India, securing trade routes and increasing revenue. He hosted intellectual debates with scholars of different religions, shaping a court culture focused on discussion and governance. Despite being illiterate, he relied on advisors and discussions, often holding long sessions to make strategic decisions. He died in 1605. Augustus Caesar ranks among the richest rulers in history ruling Roman state. He was born in 63 BC as Octavian and became the adopted heir of Julius Caesar after his assassination in 44 BC, inheriting political backing and military loyalty. He defeated Mark Antony and Cleopatra at the Battle of Actium in 31 BC, securing complete control over Rome. In 30 BC, he annexed Egypt and made it his personal province, giving him direct access to one of the richest regions in the ancient world. Egypt supplied grain to feed Rome's population of about 1 million people, placing food security directly under his control. At his peak, the Roman Empire covered about 5 million square kilometers, spanning Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. He commanded a standing army of about 250,000 soldiers, ensuring centralized authority across vast territories. He reorganized taxation, ensuring steady revenue from provinces, which strengthened financial control. He established the Praetorian Guard, an elite force of about 9,000 troops, dedicated to protecting him and enforcing his rule. He created a stable currency system and strengthened administrative structures, integrating the empire economically. His rule began the Pax Romana, a period of about 200 years of relative peace, which boosted trade and economic growth. He invested heavily in infrastructure, building roads, aqueducts, and cities across the empire. He famously claimed he found Rome a city of brick and left it of marble, reflecting large-scale construction and wealth. He died in AD 14. Mansa Musa ranks as the richest figure in history because he controlled the largest gold-producing region in the world. He became emperor of the Mali Empire around 1312, ruling a territory covering about 1.1 million square kilometers across West Africa. His empire controlled major trade routes across the Sahara, linking West Africa to North Africa and the Middle East. Mali produced about 50% of the world's gold supply during his reign, giving him direct control over the most valuable resource of the time. His wealth was so vast that it is considered impossible to calculate accurately, as it was tied to continuous gold production rather than stored assets. In 1324, he undertook a pilgrimage to Mecca with a caravan of about 60,000 people, including soldiers, officials, and servants. He traveled with about 12,000 slaves, each carrying roughly 2 kilograms of gold, distributing large amounts along the journey. When passing through Cairo, he gave away so much gold that it caused inflation, reportedly reducing gold's value in the region for about 10 years. His spending in Egypt was so extreme that it disrupted the local economy, demonstrating the scale of his wealth in real time. He invested heavily in cities like Timbuktu, turning it into a major center of trade, education, and Islamic scholarship. He funded the construction of mosques, universities, and libraries, including institutions that attracted scholars from across the Islamic world. His empire's wealth came from gold, salt, trade taxes, and control over key trans-Saharan routes. He maintained a powerful and stable administration, ensuring continuous economic flow across his territories. He died around 1337, leaving behind an empire that remained one of the richest regions in the world for decades.